All right, welcome back to another episode of Momentum. I'm your host, Big Lez, joined by my co-host in Jake Marketo, former NRL player for the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Mate, recording this just after that Eels and Tigers game. What a game of footy. Definitely the best way to end your Easter long weekend.
Mate, that's probably the best game of the season. Went right down to the wire, obviously into Golden Point. You know, one of those penalties that you don't really see Dylan Walker getting called offside, and the 2 points by Madden to finish the game. But such a great game of footy. It had everything.
It certainly did. And it's funny. It's like, I think it's the third or fourth Golden Point game we've already had this year. So it just goes to show how close the competition is at the moment. But, it was a great game of footy. We'll get stuck straight into it and then talk about some of the news as well. But 22 to 20, the final scoreline there. Eels scored more tries, but it was the goal kicking and then obviously the field goal. The penalty goal right at the end there.
Yeah.
By Jock Madden that got the job done for the West Tigers and even to send them over to Golden Point. Some performances in this one. I mean, there were great performances all over the park. Who stood out the most for you in this one?
Mate, they probably weren't the full-blown standouts, but it's both of them. Flanno and quite Pierce-Paul for the Tigers. I think that's a formidable second row pairing. I think they just hold it together for them. I think they go really well. And you can see the second phase that comes off the back of them. Paul Pierce today in the first half was throwing it around like a tennis ball. So for me, I'm probably going to go more Pierce-Paul, as my favourite player today, even though there were probably a couple others out there who went really, really well. But I was, focusing on him, and I thought he had a massive first half.
Massive first half. Laid on 2 tries as well in this contest. 2 try assists, 2 line break assists, 83 run meters, and had 46 tackles. Got through plenty of work defensively. Huge performance from him. I'll tell you what, mate, a guy that's come in clutch for them, obviously the goal kicker in the later stages of this contest for the West Tigers, but Jock Madden, I feel like he's filled in so well. In the absence of Jerome Luai, who's a real good attacking freak, he's just freed up Adam Doueihi to have these really good running performances. Like Adam Doueihi, 131 metres this week. I think he had 200 metres last week. And it's freed up by Jock Madden, who organises the team. Really good kicking game as well. Long just gets them out of trouble when they're not going well through the middle. And I just thought I'd give a little shout out to Jock Madden there. He's been really good, hasn't he?
He has, mate. He's one of those guys that are sort of similar to Tanner Boyd. Everywhere he's gone, he's sort of made a difference when he's got his 4 or 5 games. And I feel as we spoke about the Tanner Boyd, the other week about the Warriors in the start of the season. He has Jock Madden's right up there. He's probably had probably a couple of seasons in New South Wales Cup, in Queensland Cup. Sharpening his trade. Now he's got to start obviously at the Tigers, and he's taken it with both hands. And he actually has freed Adam Doueihi up a little bit, and they complement each other really well in the halves.
They really do, mate. It'll be interesting to see what role Jock Madden plays when when Jerome Luai walks back into this side. If Madden is coming off the bench, he's on that 6-man bench and he's just in there around as cover. But geez, the last 2 weeks, I've really thought that he's freed up a lot. Not even just Doueihi, but even their outside man in Dream Buller. I felt like he's run a lot better as well, and a lot more freely, just with that extra bit of organisation there from Jock Madden, because they don't really have that out-and-out number 7 in this team. It's Doueihi and Luai. So getting Jock Madden in does bring that nice dynamic, and I think it's been really good over the last couple of weeks. One guy I want to touch on, mate, before we go to the Eels is Tino Tavana. The confidence that he has in the air, going up against Josh Adokar in this one. Got him a few times. Adokar was obviously more prepared the other times with the experience and just learning from the past couple jumps. But I'll tell you what, Tino Tavana went up against Roger last week when we spoke about him. Just the confidence in the air. And then obviously goes up against Josh Adokar in this one and really good in the air as well, young Tino Tavana.
It just shows all the young bucks that are coming through the Tigers. They're outside backs. You've got Makasini. Forgive me if I pronounce his name wrong, Lulili.
Yeah, Laulili, yep.
Laulili, sorry. These guys are all under 10, 15 games of NRL. And they're shaping up and they're going as hard as they can. And they're turning up. So that shows you that they're playing with confidence. Benji's probably simplified it to them, just giving them their marching orders and they're going out and delivering. So, Tavane is going really well, and hopefully he can keep his spot and keep building into the season.
Speaking of young bucks, Parramatta will certainly need some next week. Most likely you're going to see Mitch Moses, Jonah Pezzett, and Josh Papali'i potentially spend some time on the sidelines with some injuries there picked up later in the game. Interesting one. Even guys like Riley Smith had a quad injury. He had to come back on the field and play the full game. You had Talon De Silva with a bit of a shoulder burner there. A couple of guys playing injured in this one. But they're definitely going to need some young bucks going into next week, won't they?
Yeah, you'll see some changes through the team. And I want to condolences to Bailey Simonson, the horrific injury that he picked up. I seen it when it first happened. I thought, his legs got caught under here. I don't know if it was all through the inside of his knee, but it ended up being his ankle. So hopefully it's not as serious as they probably are saying, and he can get back on the field at some stage this year, because I thought he's had an absolutely brilliant start to the year. I think we'll be able to get to see this young fella at fullback. We were speaking about it before. Appa Tweedle.
Yeah, Tweedle, yep.
Yeah, mate, he looks a first grader through and through. Just for the simple fact, I know we've watched, 26 minutes of him play first grade rugby league. The put down that he did for that first try, though, that is out and out skill. Though you can't teach that. That comes to you through natural ability to be able to twist his body and torque it, to be able to put the ball down. First time touching the ball in an NRL game. I really hope we get to see some more match time for him. And you did state he's a fullback /5'8". So if we can see him in his natural position, I think it'll be really good for Parramatta.
Yeah, so played fullback throughout the grades. Has played a bit of 5'8", though, over the last couple of weeks in New South Wales Cup alongside Lorenzo Talatena, who's supposed to be the next 5'8" coming through after Pezzett goes to the Broncos. So that'll be interesting to see if we see him as well over the next week or so. And I guess the depth in the lower grades will be tested for Parramatta over the next week or so, depending on how long these guys are out for. But yeah, Twaddle, very exciting, and scored 2 tries in this game in 26 minutes, all granted. But he also had 8 runs, 93 run meters, 2 line breaks, 4 tackle busts. He made 6 tackles out there on the wing and did not miss one. He still had a really good game of football in 26 minutes.
Mate, he's done really well. He had no choice but to be involved in the game. They went to his side both times. Mitch Moses fed him the ball. Then all of a sudden he found himself at fullback. So, he had no choice but to be injected into the game, and I thought he handled the occasion really well.
Yeah, I think so as well. Really good game of footy, mate. I think it will be interesting, as you said, to see the changes made for Parramatta next week and how long these guys are out for, because I think there was injuries all throughout the spine. Both hookers had little niggles that they were playing through. You obviously had Moses with the groin injury that he sort of dealt with throughout the game. Is it going to be a pain management thing we see for him? We'll have to wait and see. But for the Tigers, mate, a really good win. And I tell you what, it was good for the tips too, because we both had the Tigers going into this one, and they obviously came off in the dying moments there. Let's get stuck into some news. First of all, your Dragons, mate. Just want to start off. There's obviously been a bit of chat in and around the Dragons, and in particular, Shane Flanagan, after starting the season without a win. There has been a lot of chat in regards to the future of Shane Flanagan, and it sort of ramped up a little bit over the last couple of days with reports that they are halting now all contract extension talks with both the players and with Shane Flanagan until they sort out the situation and they iron out if Shane Flanagan is going to be there beyond this year. What have your thoughts been on the last 48 hours with all the news that's come out about the Dragons?
Yeah, there looks like there has to be change just through, the game, obviously on the weekend, but 0-5. Seabold got his marching orders for being 0-3. For whatever reasons, at the moment, the Dragons are staying with Flanagan. Nothing's been said as of yet, but, I wouldn't be surprised if this week, or if, the club goes out and the boys perform not to the best of their abilities and they start the season 0-6, there has to be a change to the coach, you would think. I actually went to the game. I just wanted to go see how they warmed up. I wanted to see body language. I wanted to see team connection. And, from what I'm used to, it just looked like there was so much disconnect between the playing group, and it obviously went onto the field. And I just hope the boys and the club can find some groove. And, I hope no one loses their jobs, first and foremost, because it's not a cool thing. But, rugby league is cutthroat, and maybe, we could be seeing some drastic changes taking place within the next week to, 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Well, look, all the stuff that I've sort of heard behind the scenes too, it doesn't sound like they are going to part ways with Shane Flanagan. It feels like they're going to sort of move with him throughout the rest of the season and sort of give him the year, is what I've heard at least. Rugby league's a funny game and things can change in split seconds. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what the next 48 hours over the next week or so does look like. But there have been contract talks outside of the side as well. Obviously, all the contract negotiations with guys like Cookie and these sort of guys coming off contract have been put on hold. But the club has been linked to Trey Fuller on an immediate move and also to Scott Drinkwater from the North Queensland Cowboys. Now, I think the Trey Fuller one's definitely the more likely one because the Dolphins aren't using him at the moment, and he was shopped to Super League clubs only a couple of weeks ago. A little report came out there, so it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I think that Fuller would be the more likely one. I'll tell you what, he'd be a great addition to this team just to sort of liven things up a bit in and around the spine. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't understand it, to be honest. I made a bit of a reel today. Tyrell Sloan's there on their roster. I don't understand how you can't look to put him in now. I actually thought on the weekend when they were down, I think it was 18 or 20-0, and Cotter got sent for 10. My immediate reaction was to get him out there. I thought, make a change. It's just, you got to go, if you're going to go down swinging at least. The fans want to see people out there, trying. And it just looked like there was a bit of an energy slump at that time. And the Cowboys ended up scoring a try with one of their best players off the field. I just thought they've got to start trying stuff now because what they're doing currently isn't working. So I understand Fuller's looking to play rugby league. But if you're looking at the team, if you're not going to put Sloan in, where are you going to put Fuller? Like, are you just going to have him there for depth, or is he actually coming there to play? Because that just takes up a spot, in my opinion, when you have someone like Sloan who's there ready to go.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. I think that they should definitely try and give Sloan the opportunity first. He's a guy that they were planning on giving that spot to initially. I think you can remember back only 3 years ago, or maybe even a little bit less, when the plan for the future for the Dragons was to have Sloan at fullback. It was Tolu Amone as well that used to be at the club. He was going to be the number 6, and Bud Sullivan, who's no longer at the club now, was going to be the 7, and that was going to be the long-term plan. And I guess things have been sort of moved around a little bit since then. Obviously, Bud Sullivan ended up going to the West Tigers, and everything off-field happened with Tolu Amone, and I guess Tyrell Sloan lost a little bit of confidence and sort of wasn't cutting it in that initial stint there in first grade at fullback, and obviously went back to reserve grade and even had some time on the wing as well. So I definitely think the progression from Sloan from then to now as well has been massive too. Like, I feel like he's had a lot more confidence in his body. He's put on a bit more size. So I'd definitely be giving Sloan an opportunity, and it's going to save you cap space as well. So I just don't know why. I just don't know why you wouldn't want to try that first. From the Scott Drinkwater perspective as well, we're respectfully to Scott Drinkwater, we're talking about a guy that's only just recently come back into form. I think the last couple of seasons with Scott Drinkwater, it has been pretty inconsistent. It's been hot and cold at the Cowboys in regards to his form. And I know at the start of this year, he's had a little bit of a rib injury, which has affected him up until last week or the week before. But his form has been a little bit up and down. However, he's a guy that we were also talking about for Origin duties and was in the squad a couple years ago as well. So if he comes into the side, I think he's definitely going to be there to take that fullback jersey. Is that a signing that you sort of see very likely, or do you think it's much more likely they get Fuller into the building?
Drinkwater makes more sense. He's playing first grade at the moment. You got to look at it in a logical sense. If you're going to bring a player there, they have to be better than the people that you already have there, because that's what's going to strengthen your team. Is Drinkwater an immediate release type of thing, or is it something that they're looking to purchase him when he's off contract?
I believe it's for next season, not this year.
Okay. So, that makes more sense to me to have, go and approach Drinkwater for next season. He is in a real nice purple patch of form the last 2-3 weeks. I do tend to agree with you. He can be hot and cold, but geez, mate, when he's on, he's one of the best players to watch play rugby league. He just moves across the field so well. He can kick goals. He's attacking ability on those 3-on-2s. He usually, it's almost Darius Boyd. Like, he gets the ball out the back. He just sums up the situation so well, and more times than not, he makes the right choice for the Cows to be able to score tries, or at least put themselves in a position to score tries.
Now, there's a guy that we haven't talked about yet, and that's Clint Gutherson. Obviously, that means that he'd have to move out of that fullback position. Where do you see is the best spot other than fullback for Gutho if he is still in the 7? He's definitely going to be in the 17 still. Where would you have
Yes.
Gutho in this side?
I'd put him in centre. Like, he's a strong defensive centre, and that's what they're struggling with at the moment. I said it last week. Valentine Holmes, in my opinion, is an out-and-out winger. So you get Gutherson, Valentine Holmes one side, and then you got Moses Sully, and you got the money man on the other side. That's the way I see it. And then that's what I'm hoping that the Dragons may look to do in the coming weeks. And you got Sloan at the fullback. Now, people are saying, errors, missing. Yeah, no one's winning. No, I'm not saying to put Sloan into the team when we're winning and it's balanced and everything's going well. We're not going well as a club at the moment. You have to inject some life, some speed, and that's X factor. We do need that. You're going to have to put up with maybe one or two errors, but if he injects himself into the game, all of a sudden the crowd's standing on their feet and, it looks a little bit better when the ball moves and he's getting it at speed and he can beat people. At the moment, it just looks like the ball's a bit clunky. Everyone looks like they're playing to a script. Like the perfect examples when they played Parramatta a couple of weeks ago, it was a 5-on-2 or a 4-on-2 probably 3 or 4 times. And all we did was go to the right. So it looks like we're preempting our sets, which actually isn't creating try-scoring opportunities for us at the moment.
Yeah, and the attack itself at times as well, like there was a couple of questionable sets that they had just going out to their edges as well and trying to find that right edge, as you said, but the shape that they had was really awkward. Like they had Atkinson coming in and shaping up to go out wide to Valentine Holmes, but they had Like and King Toja at the back, standing there with no one running his lead or anyone to pass to, and it just looked really, really awkward. So even though it is preempted attack, like some of the shape that they're running actually doesn't make a ton of sense either. And that's a bit of a concerning thing as well. And look, we said that this was going to take time with Atkinson moving into that 7 role. No one said it was going to be a quick fix. It was going to happen straight away. And we've been pretty critical over the last couple of weeks with Atkinson sort of learning that position too. But you got to win games of footy at the same time. I think Cade Reid's got to come in, mate. I'm not too sure what you think, but I think that they've got to bring that young Cade Reid in and just back him in. I think that Jaden Sewer's obviously there on that right back row, so he'll be able to protect him defensively. But I think you've definitely got to pull the trigger on that half and see how he goes. What do you reckon?
Couldn't disagree more with you. I don't think putting a young fella in like that at this moment in time is going to do him any good. He may go out there and prove me wrong. I've got no doubt that can happen, but I just don't think his frame will be able to handle full body men contact. I think he has the smarts upstairs. I think he has the skill base, and he obviously has the competitiveness. We've seen that in the trials, but his body will not be able to handle 100, 110, 115 kilos sometimes back rowers coming at him. Imagine Kai Pearce-Paul coming up against him. That guy's 6'5" and can create an offload when he's got 3 people on him. Like you have to look at the logistics of it. Like defensively, it will be a spot, it will be a weakness. Regardless if Sewer is around him, if you can draw Sewer and you play short, that's a one-on-one tackle. It creates momentum. So I know that the Dragons at the moment probably aren't doing the best things as well, but I just think for his development and his confidence as an NRL halfback, it's not appropriate at this moment in time.
So what's your halves pairing going into this coming week? What would you go with if you're Shane?
Well, mate, you got to stick with what you got. And this is the thing. I watched Kintongia play, right? He looks like he's got shackles put around his wrist. It looks like he's just been told this is all you can do. The guy's an off the cuff 5'8". He's playing there. Let him be. We're forgetting. We've got to try and create. If you're just going to put shackles on people and tell them this is what you can only do, that's all you're going to get. But if you allow them to breathe and actually showcase their ability and off-the-cuff play, that's what I think Atkinson is as well. I don't think he's just a catch, draw, and pass, play off the back of shape. I think he actually has the ability to do many, many, many other things, but it just looks like he's not being allowed to do that.
So do you reckon that maybe Flanagan sort of moves into that more controlling number 7 role and they can free up Atkinson a little bit more? Is that sort of the direction that you're thinking? Because I think I saw a thing just then from the Telegraph saying that Flanagan's going to be coming back this week as well. We thought that he was going to be out for a little bit longer, but apparently Flanno's going to be named this week. Would you go like Flanno moving into more of that controlling half sort of mold and having Atkinson as that more second fiddle, similar to the Hines and Trindle dynamic?
Yeah, I didn't know Flanagan was coming back this week. Well, those two will be the halves you would think. And I think Atkinson's got more rugby league ability than Flanagan. So if you can, bite the bullet, the Atkinson at 7 hasn't really necessarily worked. Make some changes, and that's okay. Put your son at 7, put Atkinson at 6, then allow them just to play nothing. Sometimes the best rugby league is just allowing people to get the spots and then playing unstructured. Give them the ability to make decisions on the run instead of just saying this is all you can do once we're here and once we're there, you got to do this. It's not working, and they need to come up with something new this week, whether it's team changes, position changes, whether the club gets rid of the coach. There's a whole heap going on at the Dragons at the moment. The whole thing's a headline.
Well, look, it'll be interesting to see what they do, how long Shane Flanagan does last over the next couple of weeks as well. It's going to be an interesting decision unfolding. You'd imagine that if Flanno does get moved on, that it'd be Mick Ennis taking over too, which will be very interesting. Mick Ennis, currently their attacking coach too. So that'll be very interesting to see, I guess, the dynamic and the changes made there as well, and how they play under Mick Ennis, if there are any noticeable changes there. But look, as you said, we don't want anyone to be sacked. We don't want anyone to lose their jobs. It's the last thing that we want here at Momentum. So hopefully Shane can turn things around and the Dragons can turn things around and start playing for their coach as well. Mate, Herbie Farnworth, he's been linked to the Sydney Roosters over the last, I'd say, 72 hours. I saw a video with James Hooper talking about the fact that the management group that manage Herbie Farnworth's affairs at the moment are also involved with DCE and James Tedesco. So there is a relationship there between the two. And that once Herbie does come off contract, he is off contract for 2028. So he'll be able to talk November 1. It sounds like the Roosters are going to put a pretty sizable offer ahead of Herbie Farnworth. Do you see that as a likely move for Herbie? Where does he sort of fit into that roster? What are your thoughts on that?
100%. They're losing outside backs. Herbie Farnworth is absolutely killing it at the moment, and the Roosters always get who they go after. So I got no doubt if this is true, there'll be something put in front of him. He'll get shown around. He would suit Coogee and Bondi to an absolute T as well. I think it'll be a great purchase for the Roosters if they can land him. But who knows? He may be happy up at Redcliffe. But I don't think the Roosters will be the only club coming out and searching for his services.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that pretty much every club is going to want a guy like Herbie Farnworth in their team, particularly with the versatility that he has. And I think, something that a lot of people didn't really know was that he came to the Dolphins wanting to play fullback too.
Did he?
Yeah, he wanted to transition into fullback, and obviously Wayne kept him in the centres there, and he's obviously excelled there since. So that's something as well. If there's a little Latrell-like progression there, he wants to go to another club and play fullback and get fullback money. Maybe that's what happens. I know that clubs are going to pay big money for good centres now. You look at Latrell Mitchell at the Rabbitohs. You look at Stephen Crichton at the Bulldogs. Good centres are an asset in rugby league at the moment, and Herbie Farnworth is certainly that. And then you pair onto that his versatility. There's going to be plenty of clubs going after him. I do think, though, with the money that's getting freed up, you've also got both Marky Mark walking out the door at the end of the year, and then you've got Daniel Tupou, whose future's sort of up in the air. So there are spots that are starting to open. They've got young guys coming through, I grant it, but Herbie Farnworth would be a great pick. The only quarrel I have is you've got Billy Smith and you've got Rob Toyer. I love Billy Smith. I don't know if Billy Smith can move to the wing and make a fist of the wing. Herbie, for me, is an out-and-out centre in that Roosters team. Maybe potentially fullback, depending on Tedesco's future as well. Where does he fit into that side for you, Jakey? Is there a chance he comes in and takes over from Teddy, or would you rather him in the centres there?
But I'd leave him in the centres. I've never seen him play fullback, so I can't sit there and give an honest opinion on it. But to me, he doesn't move or look like a fullback. I think he's a great centre, just getting the ball, coming out of yardage, has a ridiculous offload, can beat people one-on-one, attracting defenders. I think he's more formidable in that front line. Billy Smith, he is going well, and obviously they've got young Robert Toyer. So, you may see some rosters juggle around if Smith continues to play well and can land another opportunity somewhere else, injury-free. You think he may move somewhere else and Herbie will come in and take his spot, because I don't think they'll be moving Rabbitohs on anytime soon, the Roosters.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be interesting to see where he fits into that roster. That's obviously assuming that he goes, but obviously this is all just rumour and speculation, guys. Nothing concrete here. Obviously, James Huber just drawing the connection, and that conversation started from there. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. And then lastly, from the news front, mate, it looks like the Manly Seagulls are going to make a big play for Connor Watson for next year. I don't mind it. I think it's a really, really nice play. We've obviously talked a lot about Jake Trbojevic, and we will tonight, because I want to give him a bunch of praises after his performance on the weekend. But I think that that's exactly what they need. They need that more mobile 13. And I'll tell you what, a couple of Manly fans disagreed, because they've got that Caleb Navale there who they want to play 13, and they've got these other bigger bodies there. But I just feel like the way that Manly are playing their football at the moment and the attacking side that they have, Connor Watson at 13 suits that perfectly. What are your thoughts?
100%. I think he can slot right in there, depending on who they don't want to play 13. You know, if Trbojevic is still there, if there is another bloke there, competition's healthy. You know, so like, no one's saying that he's going to come in and straight away play 13. But I think Connor Watson's got a good another 2-3 years left in him. He's currently playing Origin. I think mainly if they can get their hands on a player of, you know, of that tier of player playing Origin at the moment, I think good luck to him, and I think it's a massive opportunity not only for them but for Connor.
Yeah, 100%. We'll have to wait and see if anything comes out of that move. And again, it looks like the Roosters might be freeing up some cash for Herbie Farnworth. We'll wait and see. Let's get stuck into Manly's performance on the weekend over the Dolphins. Massive win. We both had the Dolphins, mate. Egg on our face a little bit there. Fozball is officially upon us. What were your thoughts on the Manly Seagulls on the weekend?
I thought it could have gone this way, but I didn't think it would. And I tell you what, the Kieran Foran effect, I was sitting there watching the game. I did, as I said, I did a real watching it live. It just looked like it was so easy for them. It looked like there was just tons of weight taken off their shoulders, and they just looked like they were playing free footy. It was so simple. They played to their strengths, and they put 50 points on a Dolphins team that I thought were going to come out and win. So, you know, this is the art of, you know, these types of coaches at the moment, in saying Kieran Foran and the Benji Marshalls, the sort of guys who are still in touch with the playing groups around the, you know, and the players that are around the competition. If you can gain an understanding on how the players are, as in this era of rugby league, and you can understand them, and you can get the best out of them, you're going to start to see, I think, some changeover happening within the coaching ranks, because at the moment, the ones that can be in touch with the players, not only in a rugby league sense, but getting them right mentally and game plan wise, it's going to be a different landscape, I think, of rugby league, and the Eagles showed it on Thursday night.
We were talking in the group chat while this one was on, and you brought up a great point that Foz has just simplified everything for them all. It sort of optically looked like Seibold's come in with a set structure of how he wants his teams to play rugby league football, and Foz has just gone, guys, play how we play how Manly play, and play how is best suited to your side and the guys that you've got on the park. And I mean, we saw Hamole play some of his best football that we've seen in a little while. Tom Trbojevic looked really free. I thought even Luke Brooks looked good, and the big one for me that I was very happy with was Jake Trbojevic running the footy and still getting through the same amount of work defensively too.
100%. Trbojevic is a massive in, because the thing is, it looked like he was just able to do what he thought he needed to do out on the field. You know, like the thing is, when you have a group of men, you've got to play to their strengths. You can't, as a coach, you shouldn't come in and try and dictate how they should play when they've been doing it for anywhere from 100 to 150 to 200 games of rugby league in first grade and NRL. They are set with what they're really, really good at and what you can sort of hone in to make a little bit better. To go in and try and change a complete structure of a club and get them to play a way that you think is best rather than what actually works. That's what I think it happened at Manly. And I think with Kieran Foran there, he will take some lessons out of this year too, Kieran. You know, this is a big win. I reckon a lot of the game was based around emotion, and he'll be the first to admit we've got to turn up and do it again.
100%. It will be interesting to see off the back of this how much confidence Manly will get. I imagine it'll be a lot. But yeah, really enjoyed the way that they were playing, and really happy to see Gerbo playing that sort of footy. Hamole, I tell you what, if he continues to play like this, I mean, we're talking about the New South Wales back row depth. He'll be forcing his way in.
Gigantor. Mate, he looked like it was a man playing in under sevens. It was like he he's probably, would you go almost saying he's getting to the equivalent, and I'm not going to say that he is this person, but he's starting to look a little bit like Gordon Tallis to me. It's you can't tackle him one-on-one. You literally cannot do it. And the best thing about him, when he gets the ball, because he's so big, have you seen his first step? It's like a center. It's just this beautiful either skip out, cut on the inside. He creates an offload. If anyone tries to go high, he shrugs them off. And anyone that tries to hit him through the middle, he just bumps them off. He's a human wrecking ball. He's an amazing player. And when Manly are going well, it's usually off the back of him and a couple of other their players.
Yeah, I mean, the Garrick try is probably a great example of that too. The little tip on that he had there for Ruben Garrick to score as well. So much skill there for Hamole and an awesome game, and great to see him freed up again because, as you said, mate, he's one of the better back rowers in the competition when he is at his best. And yeah, big win by the Manly Seagulls for the Dolphins. Geez, they left it way too late, and just the discipline for me is the big one. 64% completion in this game. It's really, really poor. I tell you what, like I'm not going to make a habit of calling players out individually, but just over the past couple of weeks, Morgan Knowles just giving away some really crucial penalties, just coming out of the line and trying to put pressure on and trying to have a moment for his team, which, you know, go for it, 100%. But when you're giving away this many penalties in a game, it's going to cost your side. It's logged here 3 penalties and 1 ruck infringement there, and then also on a report and was sent to the bin during this game. It's really going to put your team on the back foot when they're already making errors and completing at 64%. The last thing that you need is just that sort of play.
Yeah, I think he lost his head in parts of the game. I actually think he got hooked at one stage. He gave away a penalty, I think, coming out of the line, or it was off a kickoff. And I remember seeing him marching up the sideline. I thought, he's got him off the field here because he's actually doing more harm than good. Just looking at this also, this is just to allude what you were saying. 14 errors, 9 penalties conceded, 9 ruck infringements, 1 inside 10, 3 on reports, 1 in the sin bin. And completing at 64%. You will never, ever win a game of rugby league with that amount of not so good and healthy plays for your team to try and get the win. There's no way you're going to win a game of rugby league like that.
And then you put on to that as well how clinical Manly were in this game. They completed at 90%. Yeah, you're definitely not going to win any games of footy like that. The Dolphins, and then just one more thing on them as well. Like we've spoken a little bit about Katoa over the last couple of weeks. I really feel like he's in a bit of a patch at the moment with his footy. Just the last tackle options are becoming a little bit predictable here, and I'm getting a little bit worried for him. I'm getting just a little bit worried. Yeah, he's a great player, and I love his footy, and I love when he's going well, but I am getting a little bit worried.
Yeah, it's not going well for him around him. He can't do everything for them. I think he's one of those players that can really be on the back of them when they're going well. But if, as you've seen on the weekend, the forward pack gave him no platform to play off, so you actually couldn't see him shine in any sort of capacity. So I do agree. I think he's in a little bit of a purple patch. I do believe, though, he's, as I like to say, he's 80 minutes away from a cracking game. But if I was him, I'd be asking his 10, 8, 13 and whoever's on the bench playing in the middle, I need you this week.
I think one change I'll definitely make before going into this weekend will definitely be Donahue at 13. I just feel like he offers a lot more. And the back end of last year, just with that leg speed and the way that he plays, he's almost like another little Cameron Murray there at stages too. Really, really skillful. I just think they need his presence there at 13. I love the fact that he's obviously giving Maxi Plath a spell at 9. Obviously, some bad news for the Dolphins over the weekend too is that Jeremy Marshall-King's going to be out for a month or so. So it's not going to look good for them in the 9 role, and they're going to have to make some sacrifices. But I definitely would be giving Donahue some more time because he only got 30 minutes on the weekend. I'd almost be playing him close to 80, and I'd be giving it. And he's only just come back from injury, so those minutes will go up. But I'd be giving him a lot of time at 13 because I just feel like he offers them so much through the middle too.
Yeah, he does. He's a very good player. I think it was just to get him into the game on the weekend. He was mostly at 9, so I think the more they can get him on the field, even at 13 is his strongest suit. But even just having him on the field in some capacity is massive for them.
Yep, 100%. Rabbitohs and the Bulldogs, 32-24 the final scoreline in this one. Just some main points here for the Bunnies. I thought that they attacked really, really well. I love Jamie Humphries in this side at 7-2, just with how deep he was getting into the line. And this is something we were sort of talking about with Isaiah Katoa last year, but his tempo at the line, Jamie Humphries as well. I feel like he's really taken some extra little layers onto his game there, just with the tempo that he's playing with too, and it frees up guys like Cody Walker and those other attacking guys on either side of the field, just to create their magic and give them space out wide too. So, really impressed with Jamie Humphries. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, he's going really well, but going back to it, he's playing behind a great four pack, and Cameron Murray's such a big in for that team. Like last year at certain games, you'd just be going, far out. How would they be going if Cameron Murray was out there at the moment? When you got him out on the field, you're always a chance. I think it's great having, Fafita and Duncan are doing massive things for them on the edge. Latrell's involvement in the game, even though it's not all the time, he's having some magical touches. I just think the thing that left-hand side of the field where there's so much strike, they need to start chopping into those handling errors that they are giving out and giving away cheap ball. And I think once they sort of get that out of their game, I think you'll start to see the Rabbitohs actually rack up 30, 40, 50-point wins, because nullifying those errors allows them to have the ball more, allows them to create more, and Humphries and Walker just complement themselves so well.
Yeah, totally. It does seem like, I think that was my next point for South Sydney too, just the back end of both halves, the last 20 minutes of both halves. Maybe there was a little bit of fatigue that crept in for the Bunnies there in the last 20 minutes of both of those halves. So if they can really just get rock hard fit over the next couple of weeks and they can nullify those errors, then they'll definitely go all right, as you were saying. I thought that Keon was massive. He played with what looked like to be a knee injury in this one as well. He played through a PCL according to NRL Physio. So to do that, get 200 metres, 67 minutes in the middle there, unreal performance from Keon Kalamatangi.
Yeah, especially if he's playing with injuries, mate. Especially in your knee, he's a big frame. Obviously, all his weight's going through his leg every second of not just the game but the day. So I think he'll be on ice as much as he can possibly be, getting himself ready for the next game, week in, week out.
My man of the match in this one, Tallis Duncan. I thought he was unbelievable. The lines that he was running on either edge, he got moved to the other side of the field on the left there in the last 20 minutes, I want to say, and he killed it. I thought that Tallis Duncan was outstanding.
Great player, mate. He's coming on leaps and bounds. He's doing really well, and it's a credit to him.
Where do you sort of think? I mean, the completion rate speaks for itself, 61%. But where do you think it went wrong for the Doggies?
I've been saying it since the start of, probably round 2, round 3, is there's too much going on there. There's so much going on there that I think it's starting to affect certain players within the playing group. I think it's affecting the way some blokes are playing, and I just, for the life of me, do not understand why they keep moving these players around. And the biggest thing, Crichton's gone. You have literally a bloke who has the potential, when he's on, to play Origin Rugby League in the centres. Matt Burton is a great centre. He's better for your team playing 6. I don't know why Cherry was put into the centre. Now, they said they needed another communicator around the field. Okay, that's fine. Do you want to make the most logical process for your team, which in my opinion is centre for centre? Burton communicates and Galvin's there fine. They've trained all week together. I don't think O'Sullivan would have got as many reps in as he did. And he went out there and did his best. But I just thought that it took Burton completely out of the game. Like, he was non-existent after that, besides maybe 1 or 2 brilliant touches that he did get. But over a 40-minute period, that's not enough for him. He needs the ball in his hand once or twice a set, even if it's passing or looking to run. So it'll be interesting to see what they put out this week with their team. But I just think Bronson Cherry's got to get back in the centres with Crichton out for a bit.
And you, to your point as well, like, you want another communicator out there. Bailey Hayward played 80 minutes. Get Bailey Hayward off for a spell. Put Sean O'Sullivan into 9. Jamin Salmon, has he been the best the last couple of weeks? I'm not too sure. Maybe you throw Sean O'Sullivan in there at a roaming 13 sort of role and have that extra half on the field. Like, there are other options to get O'Sullivan onto the field. You don't need to move Burton into the centres. And I know even there was rumours at the start of this game that was the team that they were going to start with Burton moving into the centres. Critter probably going back to the other side of the field and Sean O'Sullivan starting in the halves with Galvin. But if that's the way you're going to go, just fucking do it. Like, just make that call at the start of the game. It doesn't make a lot of sense. To go out of your way to not play Bronson Xerri, for me, says a lot about that situation and where that's at. But it also is, then to counteract that, there's now suggestions that he's going to be named this week, Bronson Xerri, in the centres, with Critter obviously out. So
it just looked like a personal decision, not a professional one. Like, at the end of the day, everyone's grown men. Like, if you've got a difference with someone because who they are as a person, that's okay. Not everyone likes each other. That's the beauty of life. Not everyone's going to get along. But we're in professional sport, and if you want your team to win, you put your best players on the field, especially if it's a specialist position, which centre is, and Bronson Xerri is a really, really strong centre. So, it's a big talking point, because now they're under the pump because they're losing games. And this thing has sort of come to fruition now. And that decision on Friday just has amplified that, I suppose, connection or relationship with player and coach.
Yeah, well, look, we'll have to wait and see what happens. And if Xerri is named, if he's not named, then that's just going to raise even more questions and create even more noise, which is probably the last thing that the Bulldogs need at this stage. Panthers, absolutely dominant win against the Melbourne Storm. Melbourne can, according to rugby league folklore, no longer win the comp. Yeah, what a performance by the Panthers. I do want to touch on two things from the Storm first before we get into the Penrith Panthers. There's two blokes I want to give a shout out to. The first one, playing out of position, Mania Wateli. I thought that he was great. Scored a try late in the game, but just defensively as well. Got through 28 tackles at centre. Had a decent impact on the game as well. Ran for nearly 100 metres, 2 tackle busts. I thought that he was great. I thought he did a really great job, but I thought his defence for me, especially with two edges that you've got, you've probably been the weakest you've been on the edges defensively the last couple of weeks, the Melbourne Storm. And I thought Mania was a standout there a little bit there in the sense. What were your thoughts on Mania Wateli?
Mate, 100%. I think he's probably played himself into the position for this week. They do, 50 points has just been scored against you. You need to resort back to strong defence and people that are going to compete. He suits that perfectly. So we may send him in centre this week for the Melbourne Storm. And
guys that compete for me, the other bloke I'm giving a shout out to is Cooper Clark. It was about 50 minutes into the game, 55 minutes into the game. Dylan Edwards is getting a little bit of a spread set. They go out to Nathan Cleary. Cleary breaks the line. Cooper Clark, front rower, he could have just gone, nah, okay, they're away. I can just sort of sit back here and let this play out. My speedmen will get there. He made that chase on Cleary the whole way, about 50 metres. They pass back on the inside to Dylan Edwards, and he still gets there. Almost gets Dylan Edwards as well, only just misses him. Those sort of effort areas, you're talking about guys that'll put an effort in defensively. Cooper Clark has been outstanding. We made a call on Big Lez's league for him to start as well on the podcast too. For the Melbourne Storm and for Alec McDonald to go to the bench. We saw that come into fruition and got out 54 minutes. He's played big minutes as a rookie in this team, and he has been unbelievable the last couple of weeks with his effort areas.
Yeah, I think he'll be wearing the 10 or 8 this week. That play alone just shows attitude, and that's the type of stuff that Melbourne has based itself around, and Craig Bellamy loves. He's still a teenager, and he's come through that system, and he's going on in leaps and bounds. So I got no doubt he'll hold his position for the rest of the year, barring injury, but he could potentially be starting for them moving forward.
100%. I think that there's a back row spot for him there, especially in the absence of Eli Katoa. I think that he could lock down a spot, at least for the back end of this season, along with Joe Chan. Talking about the Panthers, mate, Casey McLean. 19 years of age. And he is making anyone he goes up against look reserve grade quality with just his touches, getting how easily he just scopes past defenders. His passing game, like he's the best informed center in the comp at the moment. He is the informed center in the comp at the moment, and it's not close.
It isn't. I texted you and said it's 0306 Mark Gaz now. The bloke's virtually untouchable. Like during that time for Gaz, he was just it was like people just watched him play. They didn't even know what he was doing. He was doing so many great things on the rugby league field. And Casey McLean, he's on his way to that. I'm not saying he's Mark Gaz by any feats, but Casey McLean is playing in a realm by himself at the moment, that he's their go-to man and he's creating things off the back of literally nothing at times, even if it's second phase play. He's getting back and taking his yardage carries. He's competing. I think he ran down Sean Russell, I think it was last week when they played the Parramatta Eels, and Sean Russell's a flyer. So, like, there's all these great things to like about him. And he's continuously doing it. It's not like it's just a half or a moment within the game. These are full games that he's putting together. He's building himself really nicely for Origin contention. And I just want to reiterate, I said it in round one. He has the potential to get Daily M Centre of the Year. I need to see what the odds are on that as well. So
You might need to
I can't
jump on
speak
that one.
highly enough of him.
You might
But
need
what
to jump
about
on
my
that
man
one.
Milky on the wing too? What about Milky?
Yeah, he was unbelievable as well. He's broken the try scoring record for the most tries scored in 5 games with, I think it's 11 now. 12. Unbelievable.
He's killing it. It just looks easy for him, and they're enjoying their footy at the moment, the Penrith Panthers, which is great.
Yeah, they are. They're playing really good footy. They're all in sync. One more thing on Casey McLean before we move on. I said last week that he is probably the next Stephen Crichton, just with his player potential. I'm going to say something that's going to sound a lot more of a big call than what it is. I think at this age, he's better than what Stephen Crichton was at this age as a prospect coming into this Panthers team. He is playing better than what Critter was in his first year of first grade, second year of first grade. He's killing it at the moment, Casey McLean. His ceiling, the fact that we don't know what his ceiling is just yet, just goes to show how good of a rugby league footballer he is. And I think he's going to force his way into that Blues team. He's 19. It might be a bit too early for him, but he, as I said, he's the informed centre in the comp right now. The Roosters, the Maroons, did the same thing with Roosters centre Rob Toyer last year. I don't think it's too ridiculous to say that this guy will probably be lining up either at centre or on the wing in game 1 for the Blues. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, very high potential to be playing Origin this year. He's doing some great things, and I wish him all the best. And I just love watching him playing footy at the moment.
Mate, we talked about Cleary quite a bit on this podcast. As much as I want to glaze Cleary again for an unbelievable performance, we might save it for this week because I want to talk about Isaiah Yeo. His last couple of weeks for this side, even though the meters have sort of gone back down a touch from previous years, I'm not even looking at that. I'm just looking at the way that he ball plays, how connected he is with this spine, what he does for this team week in, week out. He played 80 minutes this week. Isaiah Yeo, unbelievable performance from him through the middle of the field.
Yeah, he's been solid for such a long time now. Captain's Australia. He just looks like he's figured out how to play his game week in, week out without any hassle. He's giving you 8.5s and 9s out of 10. He makes the players around him better, and he just makes the Penrith Panthers ship just move so smoothly.
Question, do you reckon the Panthers might need to play Freddie Lussick for a couple minutes at 9 week to week? Because he came on the field and was outstanding.
He started. I'm pretty sure he scored the first try too.
Yeah.
He's definitely someone that you have to have in your 1 to 9. Mitch Kenny will obviously slot straight back into number 9, but Freddie Lussick's doing himself a whole heap of favours for slotting in there, taking the opportunity when he's got it. I'm not sure how long he's at the Panthers for, but if he can continue to play like this when he gets his opportunities or get some minutes during the season, I've got no doubt it'll bring another opportunity for him at another club.
And you look back to when he was at the Chooks as well. He was a little bit smaller, didn't really have that size in his frame defensively. He's obviously gone to the Warriors, bulked up. He's played through the middle in New South Wales Cup for the Warriors as well. And you can see that the extra size that he's got in his frame now, going to the Panthers at 9 defensively, didn't miss a tackle on the weekend. The little kicking game he's got in his arsenal now as well at 9. I think that you've definitely got to find some minutes for him. And I think you can afford to too, even if you do bring Cogger on at 13. Like, I think this pack's going so well at the moment that you can probably afford to have both of those guys on the field and get away with it too. So it'll be interesting to see what the Panthers do, but a very dominant performance against the Melbourne Storm. And yeah, I don't think they're going to be beaten anytime soon, the Penrith Panthers. It's going to be very hard to do so. Mate, your Dragons getting done by the Cowboys, 32-0. We've spoken about the Dragons quite a bit, Is there anything else we really need to touch on for the Dragons in this one?
No, I think it's just a big week for the club and the players. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next week or two.
Yeah, 100%. For the Cowboys, though, some good performances throughout. Drinky, Clifford, and Dearden, I thought were all really good in this one. They had some really nice touches, a couple of try assists between them. I thought they just really looked in sync, and as in sync as they have all season. And Drinkwater is playing some good footy despite the rib injury.
100%. He's hit as we said before, a real good purple patch of form. It looks like it's been, such a easy sort of task for him the last 2-3 weeks with their forwards going forward. And I just want to bring up one person who obviously I spoke about last week. I've got a massive rap on, as I think everybody else does in the rugby league world. Jason Taumalolo, 44 minutes, 15 hit-ups, 163 metres for 65 carries. So he's giving you exactly what you need for such a short stint amount of time. I watched the game. He starts obviously the first 20 and he plays this last 20 in the second half. So when they're rolling, he gets that nice break through the middle, and I think they're using him really well at the moment. It does help too when you got Griffin Neem and Thomas McAlilly.
McKaylee, yeah.
Correct? Yeah, they've got a great, and Matty Lodge obviously didn't play, but they've got a great little rotation that's obviously happening at the moment. And yeah, Lukey and McIntyre on their back row. It's just, they look like they're going really well. And I want to put out there is Jackson Purdue's off contract and they're negotiating at the moment. I'll tell you what do you reckon he's worth on the bargaining table?
Depends where you want to play him. If you're wanting to play him in a spine position, which is where he wants to play at the Cowboys, he's probably about $850K. Realistically,
he is, I reckon, between $750, $850. I reckon on the open market he'd probably get $850 to stay at the Cows $750. But mate, geez, he moves well. He reminds me of Darren Lockyer. He just glides across the field.
How much do you reckon the Bears would pay him?
Oh, mate. Well, if he's going there to play half, you got to look at paying him around that $850,000, $900,000 mark. Even though that's a lot of money for someone who's actually not playing it at the moment, if that's what his natural position is and they actually want him, you take whatever number of people put in front of you.
Bit of a under the pump question before we move on to the next game. If you're paying him that big money to play a spine position and you're picking him to play the position you want him to play, where are you picking him to play? Are you going to play him at fullback? Are you going to play him in the halves? If you're buying Perth, where are you playing him?
One.
Yeah,
I see
agree.
him as a one. I think he's so elusive that when you get him out the back of shape, and if that third defender has bit on the back rower, it's good night, Irene. It's a 3-on-2 every day of the week, hitting long, playing short, or going himself.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think that Purdue, outstanding from the last couple of weeks, even just in the air on their last tackle kicks as well. Really dangerous little backs he's had for Murray Taulagi, who, by the way, has been in some good form as well.
He'll play Origin.
Yeah, he will. They're playing good footy. Do you reckon Purdue's a sniff?
100%. I'd have him in the squad. It'd be like Jackson Ford. I don't think he's going to be picked in the 1-17, but to have him in camp would be a whole great experience for them. And I think at some stage they will wear their jerseys for their respected states.
100%. Titans and the Broncos now. If tonight didn't happen, this probably would have been one of the games of the week. Really good game of footy, this one. It was pretty much down to the wire. Couple of injuries for the Brisbane Broncos. I actually called this game via Sideline FM. It was a bit of an odd experience commentating. But yeah, look, really good game of footy. Definitely there's worse games to call than this one. It was a really entertaining game of footy. What were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was very high pace, like not high intensity. I don't think it was too bash them up sort of thing. There was some good solid defense at the start, but I think both teams, when they were full strength out there, it looked like a really fast game of footy. Did you think that also?
Yeah, it was for sure. And I think the big thing as well that contributed to that, I think that this Ilias and Campbell combo, particularly with Jaden Campbell there in the 7, I think it works. And I think that Kinney there roaming at the back, I really like it. I loved AJ in the centres. He looked very dangerous there. Even though he didn't get the lion's share of, they got pretty much even possession, but Jojo Fafita had more meters. Yeah, I thought that AJ was dangerous every time he got the ball in his hands. I think it's a really, really nice little combo, the Ilias Campbell, and I think that that's a big reason. And as well, and what I was saying during the call, the Titans matched them through the middle. I thought that it was Tino's best game of the year. I think it was Kless Haas, his best game of the year. You've obviously got there Randall. I thought that he was outstanding. Bo Firma had some nice, tough carries as well on his play 3s and 4s. I really enjoyed this Titans performance through the middle of the field. What were your thoughts on their middles?
Yeah, so same thing. I thought they aimed up, and you got blokes like Tino on your team. They're always going to aim up, and he's going to take you forward. But against a Broncos team that obviously is just a juggernaut of a team at the moment, I thought they did really aim up. And same thing. Jaden Campbell, since he's come back into this team, they look completely different. I think that's just a massive respect to him as a player and what sort of aura he brings and confidence he does for that team. And I think they have found their halves pairing. I think if they stick with these two and they're able to build some momentum, I think they're going to start worrying a little bit of teams when they get a bit more confident with what they're doing.
I tell you what, talk about coaching masterstrokes. Mo Fodawaker off the bench, he was outstanding. A couple of ball playing a little bit as well. Really tough carries. Wasn't out there for like massive minutes. Got 38 minutes, which is still pretty good for a middle forward there off the bench. Didn't miss a tackle. But you talk about their fast play as well, just spreading the ball to either side of the field. He was huge. Mo Fodawaker. I thought he was really good off the bench. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, he was. And I think that's due to the fact that you've taken the starting jersey away from him. Front rowers don't like necessarily having things taken away from them when they've put themselves in the position to wear the 10 and 8. So I think, potentially he's trying to put his hand up to put that jersey back on. But they do have like a really strong rotation through the middle. I think Curtis Moran, did I pronounce that right, Moran?
Yep.
I think he is a little bit of an underlying factor with how well they go through the middle also. Obviously not the biggest forward in their pack, but has that ability to create ruck speed through late feed and getting in between players. I think he's a really, really good person for them coming off the bench with Fodawaker at the moment when they want to rest the two big boppers who start.
I do like his leg speed there through the middle. He does add a really good impact there. Kurt Moran, really good shout. The Broncos, obviously the big story coming out of this one, Renault, groin, Ben Hunt played the whole game or majority of this game with an MCL injury. He was going to be out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And Reece Walsh out for the next 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured cheekbone as well. Only just got out of hospital today, I'm pretty sure. Just got out of hospital today. So massive news for the Broncos. Obviously a bit of restructure there, but very resilient from the Broncos to get this done with how well the Titans were playing in this game. I thought it was a real resilient performance from the Broncos, wasn't it?
100%. Like, no one can ever question Ben Hunt about him as a rugby league player. He is professionalism and dedication above everyone else. What he's gone through in his career, and then to go out and play the way that he played and help them and guide them to a win on one leg practically, because now he's out for 2 months. It just shows what kind of person he is and what the jersey means to him. Now, we're going to see a massive shake-up now with Reece Walsh out. I would like to think they may put Jesse Arthurs to fullback. He did look really good on the weekend. In saying that, they may look for someone else. But the young fella, is it Verhoeven?
Yep.
Mate, when he come on the field, he looks like he's got rep footy written all over him. Just the way that he moves, his frame, he's really tall and long. I think he's going to get another start this week. Obviously, with Walsh out, they're going to have to move someone up, and he could just slot himself straight in there because they did have the confidence to put him in there on the weekend. I think this may be an opportunity too for us to see something from Ezra Mam. I think he will be chomping at the bit at running this team, and I think it'll just bring a whole new level to his game.
Tell you what, this wigs me out, but it's definitely going to wig you out. Guess what year Verhoeven was born in?
Far out. So we're 26. I'll say 2013.
No, 2007.
2000. Oh no, sorry, I meant the other way. Sorry, yeah, no, I can see that. Sorry, not 2000. I got all my years mixed up.
I was going to say he's doing
so,
well.
Yeah, so he's how old is he?
He is 19. So just turned 19. He played schoolboys last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I sounded silly then. 2013. Yeah, no.
Come straight out of Harold Matts.
Oh yeah, mate. I got all my numbers mixed up. What a player. That's going to be. I'm actually looking forward to him playing. Do you reckon he'll slot straight in the wing, or they might give him a crack in the centres? I know Katoni and Tiposaki there.
He's an out and out winger, mate. He has been a big prospect coming through the grades. Played schoolboys last year, as I said. I think he scored 2 tries in that schoolboys game. I remember watching back in October, September last year. Really, really good player, mate. I think that he's definitely going to be one you see. If they do move Arthurs to fullback, or maybe even if they don't, he might get an opportunity there just under Madge. I think Madge might give him some game time. But they've got young Hayes Perham, which might be a little blast from a past name there in reserve grade. He did his ACL last year. Played a couple games from the Magpies just on his way back, so that might be an option there too. You were going to say something there?
How much of a better team are they with Pecora in the team?
Yeah.
Brendan Pecora changes the whole dynamic for them. He gives them aggression, he gives them line speed, and, mate, they actually avoid running down his side when he's out on the field, I've noticed. He's a massive in for them after being out at the start of the year.
You know what it reminds me of? Because the numbers, here, you look at the numbers on the stat sheet, it doesn't blow you away, but he still had a huge impact on the game. It's a very Liam Martin of a couple years ago impact on a game. Like the stats aren't going to blow you away, but his intensity on the field you can't question. 100% agree with you. I think that he's had a massive game here. Payne Haas, obviously, coming back from that AC joint injury, got 55 minutes. I thought he played well. Still got through plenty of defence. I think that they definitely evened out the minutes. Guys like Tolty had a good game off the bench. Xavier Willison, I thought, was outstanding. So it's good that they're sort of giving a couple of these guys more minutes as well. And especially with the fact that they lost a forward, having to bring Verhoeven onto the field. I thought they did very well in the middle with Payne Haas obviously carrying an injury.
100%, mate, and that's how you use him. You know, he doesn't need, like, a game, no disrespect to the Titans. The Broncos, in my opinion, were always going to win that game. It's a perfect amount of minutes for him to play because now he's got some energy left in the bank. There's less K's through his legs. He's obviously not going to feel nowhere near as sore. And it gives an opportunity for Tolty and Willison to get out there to get game experience and begin to try new things. Like, Willison's going to be massive for them over the coming years because obviously Haas is going. This is the perfect opportunity for him to get out there and begin to lay platforms and get the feeling and understanding on what it's like being the number one prop in the team because Haas is off the field.
Yeah, 100%. Let's move to the next game, which is the Sharks and the Warriors. 36-22, the final scoreline in this one. Good win for the Sharkies. They definitely need to start piling up some wins in a row. And, I mean, Nicho Hynes, really good performance from him. You've definitely seen over the last couple of weeks that Trindle's been the main half in this team. But Hynes stood up in this one, had a really strong game, 146 run meters. He had 3 line break assists, 2 try assists. He had 39 post contact meters, 22 tackles, forced dropout. He was doing a lot in attack there. Really, really good performance from Nicho Hynes.
Yeah, it was great. And I was talking about it a couple of weeks ago. The Sharks, I think, were starting to get some momentum. They were just making errors in crucial parts of the game. And as you can tell, the Warriors have been flying, but it looks like they've sort of had a bit of a deceleration since Metcalf. And I'm not saying it's Metcalf's fault in any sort of fashion. It just looked like they're a little bit disjointed because number 6 is such a big position and they had been on a run that maybe they'd be playing a different style of footy. I thought the Sharks did really well. And I think the unsung hero of the Sharks, William Kennedy, had another blinder.
Yeah, he did. Really, really good. 2 tries, 154 run meters, try assists, 2 line breaks, 6 tackle busts there, kick defusal. He was very good. And I've always looked at Will Kennedy as the guy that just ices opportunities really, really well. But he's been having some of his own opportunities too, and just one-on-one, some opportunities there. He's winning those battles. So Will Kennedy in some good form at the moment, confidence. It's a contract year for Will Kennedy. He's not signed for next year at this stage. So big next couple of months for Will Kennedy. He had a very similar thing last year, played himself into a contract for this year. He's going to have to do that again for next year. So Will Kennedy playing some good footy. Talk about unsung heroes. I feel like Sione Katoa barely gets raps. He seems to always be 250 plus meters a week, 8 tackle busts. Just really good work coming out of their own end, and it sets the Sharks up really well to start their sets, even when the forwards aren't going too well.
Mate, he always plays well, Katoa, doesn't he? 254 metres, that's massive. I'll tell you what, just as you said that, if Will Kennedy's off contract, they'd want to sign him because we're talking about Drinkwater being off contract and going to the Dragons. William Kennedy's a 45-minute drive. William Kennedy is a Sharks player through and through. But if they're not going to re-sign him, mate, someone needs to put a contract in front of him. He's a great player. He creates opportunities. You watch him. He's always backing up. He's always doing these 1% plays, and he's safe as a house.
Yeah, he does. He does. That'd be a really, really interesting one too. Not one that a lot of people would be thinking of too, considering that, a lot of people just assume that he'd re-signed now. But yeah, it is a contract year. I think that he'll definitely be looking to impress some suitors if the Sharks don't offer him another contract past this year. For the Warriors, we talked about Metcalf. I think that we've looked at a lot of other players returning from ACL injuries over the past couple of years that have gone really well, and just forget just how hard it is to return from an ACL. I think the perfect example is Luke Keary for the Roosters. Had that ACL injury. It took him pretty much half a season to get back to his best, if not a little bit more. It is very hard to get back from an ACL injury. It is not going to be always like your Sam Walkers of just recently, who came back and killed it at the back end of the year last year for the Roosters, and all these other guys that have come back and killed it from ACL injuries. It can take a long time, especially coming back mid-season and not having the match fitness, not getting through an entire pre-season. These sort of things come into play. I think we're seeing a little bit of that for Luke Metcalf.
I had a feeling it was going to happen. That's why I was sort of saying I didn't understand why you put him straight back into a team, that's winning, and he's just come off a serious injury. I thought the smart approach would be to blood him and give him 15 to 20 minutes, and I thought they were in a position to do that because they do, on their books, have Chanel Harris-Tavita, who was doing an absolutely great job at number 6 when the Warriors were going. So I think that's maybe a little bit of a learning curve for Webster, and understanding, sometimes these players need to be safe from themselves, and it's great to have Metcalf come back straight in, but I think it's been detrimental to how they were playing as a team.
Yep, I totally agree. Look, our man Jackson Ford was good again on the weekend. Not as many minutes, but still 65. That's plenty. 143 run meters. I thought that he was quite good, but I'll tell you what, one guy that stood out to me in this one was Big Dallin, scoring a couple tries there, 3 tries, 188 metres, especially for someone that's been copping a little bit of hate at the moment. Just obviously for him, I think it's a contract year coming up shortly, and the Warriors are obviously going into a bit of a different direction. They've signed with Warbrick. They've got Lofi Khan Pereira at the club. It's been a bit of chat around Dallin and his defence. I thought he was huge on the weekend. 3 tries, and it's just good to see a player like that who's, such a cult hero of that club have a good performance.
Yeah, mate, he's been a major player for not just the Warriors, but for the Panthers as well, where he started. I think he'll get another contract somewhere. I think he's still good enough to play in the NRL. I wouldn't think he'll go overseas after this, but he just showed what he can do on the weekend, obviously scoring 3 tries. And one of them, if they question his defence, was a beautiful read and defence and ran the length of the field with an intercept.
Yep, 100%. Just also a little shout out to Chance the Clockstad. Got taken off early in this game on a stretcher. We do wish him all the best. Looked like a brutal little injury there in a contest. So again, wishing Chance all the very best with a speedy recovery there as well, because he was good defensively in the centres for them too. The Knights against the Raiders, mate, 32-12 with the final scoreline. Loving the footy the Knights are playing at the moment. Talk about sides being connected. This has to be the most connected I've seen the Knights in about 4 years.
Mate, my foot is directly in my mouth. I did not see them doing what they are doing. They're blowing teams off the park. And I don't know if you watched the full game, but I got to watch it on the weekend. I think it was the last try, and they were lining up the kick from the sideline, and you could just hear them, Newcastle, Newcastle. It was amazing. It's when Newcastle are going well, man, the competition is thriving. I think it's the Hunter would be humming at the moment because they're turning up, having a massive crack, and they're actually blowing teams off the park. And the good thing is they're doing it at home as well.
Well, we heard Danny Badiris talking on 100% footy as well early in the week when I went up there. And he was just saying when the team's going well, the town's going well. So that just goes straight off the back of what you were talking about too. They look like they're really loving their footy. The Newcastle Knights and Newcastle's loving it as well. I tell you what, they're playing really well, even with a guy like Fletcher Hunt, who does have quite a few errors coming out of his own end. he's still running the ball back hard. He's still got a ton of confidence. He's still just going there again and again and again, even though the errors will come. He's just gaining more and more confidence from it and just, always looking to compete. Really big fan of Fletcher Hunt. He's had a good couple of weeks.
He has. And the thing is, I think a couple of the errors too are just heavily competing. Some of them are just out and out, shouldn't be dropping the ball, but that comes with experience and it doesn't seem to affect him, which is such a positive thing to have. Obviously, making errors isn't something that you want to be doing on the footy field all the time, but he still turns up and does his job. It's like it almost gives him a kick in the bum and he plays better. That try for Dom Young, that takes a lot of skill to sort of aim up where you want to go, skip across the field, fake, and then come through and give a basketball pass around there. Then you just put the flyer down into the corner. That takes a fair amount of skill, and he moves well for such a tall and big man. So it looks like he's coming along in leaps and bounds, and he will probably get, would you say, another 4 games at fullback with Ponga's still not due back for a little bit?
Yeah, you'd have to think he gets a couple more weeks there. I think that Ponga's still a fair while away. Speaking of Dom Young, mate, this is probably his best season. We're talking about an England international. This is probably his best start to a season I've seen, and it just goes to show how connected the group are. Really confident in his ability. No errors. 2 errors, but they weren't obvious ones. I thought he was really good, and his errors have been down. When you contrast that with the footy he was playing at the Roosters, it looks like he's come leaps and bounds.
And the biggest thing, he's competing. I think that's what sort of went wrong for him at besides some defensive reads at the Roosters. I don't think it was a really good match for him. He's got himself back to Newcastle and he's playing like he did when he first come over here and put himself on the wing for England. So I'm super stoked for him. He just looks like he's having a whale of a time, as do all the Newcastle players. Just one more thing, Greg Marju. What about Bowser on the wing for Newcastle? He is unbelievable, mate. He is carving.
He is. He's doing great things. Obviously scored 2 tries on the weekend as well. Really good out of yardage. 114 kick return meters just goes to show how effective he is. The guy that I wanted to talk about, mate, was Gags. Winding back the clock, the OG. 12 tackle busts, 2 try assists, 147 run meters, and then 24 tackles as well. They sent a lot of attack at him, and he just licked it up most of the time, and he gave Ethan Sanders a bit of a bath there as well a couple of times too, just skipping on his outside.
He's always been hard to handle, Gags. He's still playing 8 out of 10s at his age. He's a contract year for him as well, as they were saying, and he's looking to re-sign there. The Knights would be crazy if they couldn't put something together for him to keep there, because I've got no doubt there has to be a club out there, possibly the Dragons, looking for someone with the amount of experience he has and professionalism. He'll bring heaps to your club.
100% he will. Just quickly as well, I'm going to call it now on the podcast. Jacob Saifidi, if he continues to play like this, there is no way you're leaving him out of the bench for Origin. Freddie Fittler made the big call to bring him in a couple of years ago. Still went quite well. He is playing some insane football. The depth for New South Wales in the forwards is crazy, but this guy is probably, I'd say, top 5 informed front rowers in the competition right now, just off the back of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's laying a good platform from Newcastle, and there's no wonder why they're putting this amount of points on other teams. Is largely due to his efforts amongst the other forward pack as well. The rest of the forward pack, sorry.
Just quickly on the Raiders, mate. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again this week. Ethan Strange, as good as he was on the weekend, needs to go back on the left for me. I think they've got to make that call. I think attacking wise, they are missing out. Even with how good Hudson Young and Ethan Strange are both playing. I think having them together on the same side of the field, they are just missing out there on what could be more and more points and more tries.
Yeah, it looks like they're in a bit of the same sort of rut the Dragons are in at the moment, the Raiders. It looks like they're not playing with a lot of confidence. There's a little bit of disconnect. There's a couple of players playing good in patches in the game, and they've got some stuff to work on definitely down at the nation's capital, and it'll be interesting to see how they line up this week against the Rabbitohs.
I'll say this, and I want to know if you agree. I think after round 1, we sort of took a lot of confidence about Ethan Sanders, that he could jump in and take this role and just look like it was just a straight swap for him and Fogarty, and that nothing would really change. And then over the last couple of weeks, I think with that in mind, we've sort of raised our standards for his season and what we want to see from him week to week. I think we're forgetting that this is a guy that's played 4 games of first grade before this year and is really new to this side, new to this position, playing consistent first grade, moving Ethan Strange to the other side of the field. And I guess just the impact of the Raiders losing a Jamal Fogarty, who is a vetted and experienced halfback in this competition, and just the effect that it would have had on this side. I think we just sort of put that to the side with how good we saw him in round 1. He kicks the winning field goal for the side. And we sort of raised the bar for what we expected to see from Ethan Sanders, which I think is unfair on him too. I think we're definitely forgetting that this is a new halfback in rugby league. He's very fresh and he's only in his first 20 games.
Yeah, he's taking. I reckon he'll take a lot of learnings out of the first 5 rounds of this NRL season so far. It's going to put him in good stead for the back end of the season if the Raiders can find some form.
Anything else on the Raiders, mate? I think it was Tarpanay's best game.
Yeah, it just appears that they're not. It appears they're in a rut. And I think they have the capabilities in the roster. If you look at their roster, it's stacked. They've got the New Zealand captain in their team. So they've got finals rugby league written all over them as a roster. It's just if they can get it together.
14 errors and 9 ruck infringements on the weekend. Yeah. They've definitely got to turn that around a little bit. Definitely through the middle of the field. Their forwards are much fitter and much of a higher standard than that, like Corey Horsburgh, the high that we were talking about him at the start of this year and obviously last year as well, saying that he should have been picked for Queensland, and obviously just a couple of ruck infringements and penalties given away there through the middle where we know that he can obviously be a bit of a loose cannon and he's obviously a bit of a hot head there, but definitely got to keep the penalties down a little bit. A couple of these guys through the middle if they want to get out of this rut, that's for sure. Mate, let's get into the tips. Round 6 tips. Hopefully we can be just as, if not more successful going into this week with our tips. We kick it off on Thursday, brought to you by BearBet. These tips brought to you by BearBet. If you're going to have a punt, make sure to do it with the best in the comp. The BearBet, the Perth BearBet coming at you there. Make sure to jump on. Bulldogs and Panthers Thursday night. The Bulldogs at home, but they are $5.50 underdogs to a very successful red-hot Panthers team. I think I'm going to go the Panthers here. What do you reckon?
You can't not pick the Panthers. They're flying at the moment. I just don't see the Bulldogs turning up and beating them.
Yep, 100%. Your Dragons going up against the Manly Seagulls side off the back of a really good win on the weekend. Which way are you going to go?
I'm sticking with them, mate. Down in Wollongong, I'm betting on this game emotionally.
Yep. I'm going to go Manly. Broncos and Cowboys. Which way are you going to go here?
I'm going the Cows. I think the Brisbane Broncos can turn up and win, but I just think with how the Cowboys are going and the amount of experience the Broncos have lost in the last week due to injuries, I think the Cows can get them. Especially
if Hunt is out too, and they have to bring in one of the rookie sevens. I think you'd be crazy not to have a little punt on the Cowboys if they're still $2.10. Rabbitohs and Raiders, 3 p.m. on your Super Saturday.
I'm going to go the Rabbitohs. I'm a big fan of the Rabbitohs. I think they'll end up giving a bit of a touch up to the Raiders.
Same here. I hope so at least. Sharkies and the Roosters.
Geez, in Perth too. There's no real home ground advantage. I think the Sharks. No, I'm going the Roosters. I like the Roosters. They've come off a week's rest. I think that gives them enough. They've got a week now under their belt where they've been able to train and probably work on that combination a little bit more. They'll be feeling fresh. I'm going to tip the Roosters.
And the Roosters off a good win as well. Confidence going into the bye and their preparation. I'm going to go Chooks as well. Yep. I tell you what. I don't think Storm are losing 4 games in a row. Going up against the Warriors here, I think this could get ugly for the Wars.
I think the Storm will win. I wouldn't like to be a Melbourne Storm player at the moment.
I wouldn't like to be a Melbourne Storm player at the moment, but I tell you what, if I'm a Warriors player, versing a Storm side at Amy Park after 3 losses, that's a scary prospect. Eels and Titans, what are you thinking?
Through and through.
Yep. I'm going to go the same way there. And then the Tigers taking on the Newcastle Knights.
Shit, this was almost probably the match of the round when you look at it, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with the scheduling here, putting this on a Slinger Sunday.
Yeah, well, even out at Campbelltown, I'd rather it be at Lockhart if you're asking me. But I like the Tigers.
Oh, it's one of the harder ones to pick. I will, just to create a point of difference, because I think we've had all the same tips so far, I'm going to go Newcastle.
It's not a bad bet. But I just like the Tigers.
Yeah, I do as well, and I want to go to the Tigers, but I'll take the value there in the Newcastle Knights. There you go. That's another episode of Momentum. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe. Just quickly, a shout out to our two good mates over at On Track Meals. Make sure to get your meals there, 10% off using the code Momentum, and then also Breathies. You can see Jakey sporting the tape at the moment. Obviously, a good podcast there for Jakey. He's been dialed in this episode, and that's thanks to Breathe. So 10% off with the code Momentum as well. There you go, guys. That's another episode. We'll see you in the next one.